How do we recognize divine opportunities like pray.com? That's the topic we're going to be addressing today on Flourishment. I'm your host, Tina Yeager. Flourishment is sponsored by Access More. Today, I have an amazing guest, Matthew Potter. He is co-founder of pray.com, the world's #1 app for daily prayer and faith-based audio content. It's driven by a mission to grow faith and cultivate community. He brings expertise in the areas of strategizing change, building tech products and apps, and finding markets in the continuously evolving technology industry. Welcome, Matt. I am so happy to have you on Flourishment today.
Tina, thank you so much for having me on. I feel honored and blessed to be here. And to all the listeners, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it.
And as your bio suggests, your lengthened bio that I didn't read on air, you actually had a divine opportunity when you met with your co-founder for the first time with pray.com. Can you tell a little bit about your story and why you feel like this was all God leading you to develop this amazing app and all the things that have come out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can. And I really don't feel like I developed it. I feel like it's been a team effort and it's been divinely inspired. And you'll hear that a lot in the story. Um, for me, it all started in 1986 at a small church in the outskirts of town in Washington. And a 15-year-old girl walked into that local community church to talk to a pastor about the biggest decision she was going to make in her life up to that point, because she was 15 and she was pregnant, Tina. And so she went to talk to that pastor about what she should do. And the pastor, being a brand new pastor, did what we all do when we don't know what to say. And he phoned a friend. So he called his buddy who had a 20-person church in Los Angeles that was meeting in a high school gym and just said, "Hey, what do I tell this 15-year-old girl?" And the pastor said, "It's providence that you're calling me. I just met with 2 members of my growing 20-person congregation, and they've been trying to have children for 10 years and they haven't been able to. Why don't you ask the girl if she'd be willing to give her baby up for adoption?" And so I got adopted through this pastor network of these 2 pastors that were friends. And it was this providential time that this 15-year-old girl went to this church and that this could happen between these 2 pastors. And so my adopted dad, helped the pastor take that 20-person church and they grew it. And it's a 15,000 person mega church in Los Angeles. It's one of the most diverse churches in America. They're just doing an amazing job. I ended up growing up in the San Fernando Valley, and I went to Boise State University. My senior year, Tina, it was tough because I started a real estate technology platform and I was trying to graduate at the same time. And so I actually dropped out of school 2 credit hours short, which was super controversial at the time, and an unconventional path. But we ended up successfully growing that company over 11 years and building over 7,000 apps in the App Store for all the major real estate companies in the United States. So we built apps for Coldwell Banker, for Century 21, Sotheby's, many more. We were empowering those companies to help people find their dream homes and raise their families in those dream homes. And so it was an amazing time. But I was coming to work every day with the company doing well, just feeling like I lost my purpose. And so when that happened, I didn't really know what to do, but I decided to call my best friend and also my pastor's daughter. And I asked her, how can I help and how can I give back to the church? And she gave me a few ideas, but Tina, you know what? I'm an introvert. And so, she asked me to help her open a church campus. And I just said, I know technology and I'm an introvert. I don't know how that's going to work, but if that's what God has for me, then I will do that. So let me pray about it. And tomorrow I'll give you a call. So tomorrow comes and I'm at a coffee shop. I'm getting my second cup of coffee for the day to stay energized. And my friend walks through the door and he looks terrible. You know how you can see one of your friends and you just know they're not having a good day? Well, I knew that my friend Steve was not having a great day that day. And so I asked Steve to come and sit down and grab a cup of coffee with me. Well, I'm going to tell you a little Steve's story, just so you have a background and get a feel for what was going on at that coffee shop in Steve's mind. Steve grew up to a single Jewish mom on welfare. He didn't really grow up going to church. His grandma would drag him to Catholic church on Christmas. And then Steve was really great at football. So he played football in high school, actually on a rival high school team to my team at Oaks. And so Steve went on and ended up going to the Air Force Academy and playing football at the Air Force Academy. And he got severely injured in a training accident. And so, what Steve thought were God's plans for his life at the time, even though he didn't know God at that time, it really wasn't the plan. And so he got honorably discharged from the Air Force Academy. And because Steve's a glutton for punishment, Tina, he took a couple months off and decided to walk on to USC's football team. And he earned a position on the team, won a Rose Bowl under Pete Carroll. And Steve thought he was going to go to the NFL, except he ended up with two reconstructed shoulders, and he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do again. And so Steve got his MBA. And during the last class of his MBA, the teacher posed the last project that they had to do. And it was, think of a company that couldn't exist 5 years ago, but would exist 5 years from now. And so Steve told the professor that he was going to build the online YouTube channels for Fortune 500 companies. And his teacher responded with, Steve, what's YouTube? Just to kind of give you an idea of the timing. And so Steve went out, he started his production company, and he built all the online YouTube channels for Red Bull, Marriott Hotels, Herbalife, the LA Dodgers, and many more incredible companies. And Steve had the fortune of being able to sell his company to his friend and mentor's company. And Steve became the CEO and the youngest guy in the company at 29 years old of a $150 million a year aerial production and surveillance company. So they had 40 aircraft, helicopters, planes, and jets, and they would film from these helicopters, planes, and jets. They would film movies, or they would do missions for the FBI, Homeland Security, CIA. And then as a way to give back, they would transport critical condition patients hospital to hospital, or organs hospital to hospital for people that were having a transplant. And so Steve was living the dream. He was making movies, catching bad guys, and saving people's lives until, unfortunately, his business partner passed away. And they were filming a movie in Colombia called American Made with Tom Cruise. And they were flying planes around in the jungle all day. And at the end of shooting, they were taking the plane back to the hangar. And unfortunately, Steve's business partner died. And he didn't know what to do because Steve didn't really grow up going to church or having faith in his life. And so when Steve's business partner died, a former Navy SEAL that worked for the company that Steve was at pulled him aside and gave him an audio sermon from a pastor. And it changed Steve's life, and he became a Christian. And from that point, Steve was a little upset about it because he was the content guy, Tina, and he didn't know about Christian content. And so that's where the seed was planted for pray.com. Steve felt like there was no digital destination for Christians or people who were seeking Christian content online. The thesis was, we've got the ESPN for sports, the worldwide destination for sports, but we don't have a worldwide destination for Christian content. And so Steve bought the domain pray.com from a fellow entrepreneur and told me this story at the coffee shop. And when Steve told me the story at the coffee shop, I said, Steve, you know what? You might not know what this means yet, but this is providence again. I just talked to my pastor's daughter last night on how I could help and give back to the church. I'll help you. I'll do it for free. And Steve asked me to start the company with him and our other two incredible co-founders, Mike Lynn and Ryan Beck. And so we raised money from Silicon Valley to build world-class technology for Christians and seekers. And we started pray.com in 2016. It's been really an incredible journey. You really can't look back and take God out of the journey, because there's just been so many miracles and providential moments that have made all of this come together. So really all the success that pray.com has had, our team has had, has really been because of God. And it's been amazing to see. In December, Tina, we crossed over 1 billion listening minutes of content on pray.com. We crossed over 100 million shares of content outside the app on other platforms. And we've just been continually growing, and it's been super exciting. We've been partnering with amazing pastors across the United States to provide content for the platform for people, really to help people with their eternity, help people with some of the mental and spiritual health issues that are going on in America. And then also, I never thought when we started pray.com in 2016 that we would help save people's lives. But people have been touched, and we know because they write reviews on the App Store, they email us. Most recently, we had a police officer in Ohio say that he had been planning his suicide for months. He went home and he stuck his gun in his mouth, and a friend of his shared him a sermon from pray.com, and he emailed us and just said, "Thank you so much for saving my life." And I know he said that we saved his life, but really God saved his life. And that was a providential moment in time for that police officer. And so that's what keeps us going every single day. That's what keeps our team firing on all cylinders and makes us really excited, is to help people just like that police officer in Ohio.
I'm hearing you say there are several instances where we will come to the end of our rope, or we will have nowhere to turn. And yet God makes a way for something we never expected. And you're saying that over and over again in the story, people that could have given up, but instead they turned to prayer, and prayer made all the difference. I love that about your story and about the story of the founding and the background of pray.com. How could people get this app and access some of the wonderful content that will turn their hearts to prayer and help guide them through the things that they need to rescue them from desperate places in their lives?
Yeah, great question. So pray.com is available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as online. So if you go to your Safari or Chrome browser and you type in pray.com, you can access all of the incredible content. But today, only on this podcast, I'm excited to give you the entire app for free. So we have free content in pray.com, and we have content that you have to pay for. Today only, it's completely free. If you go to pray.com/Matt, again, that's pray.com/Matt, you get all of the content for free, and it will automatically redirect you to the App Store to download the app if you go to that website. So all you have to do is enter in your email. You don't have to enter in a credit card or any of your information. Just put an email in, and it sends you a link to be able to download the app. And it's pray.com/Matt. Thank you so much.
I hope that all of you listening will go right now to that website and get your hands on the pray.com app content. And I hope that you have been inspired by the story Matt Potter has brought to us today. We're going to get into more information in the second half of our conversation. And of course, I also hope that you come back for the next episode of Flourishment.